Tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I have, as I've said before, probably the most obscure background, a weird background. I started young in theater when I was in high school and really enjoyed it, majored in it in college. Then I actually entered the Jesuit seminary after I finished my MFA in acting, and so studied to be a Jesuit priest for 7 years.
Yeah.
I left that to go do my doctorate in this field called dramaturgy, which is an obscure field, only about 6 graduates a year. There's only one school that gives this doctorate. And it really is the study of storytelling and how we tell stories, how we structure them, how they exist in time and space, and propel meaning of what it really means to be human. And so it's odd that I took a theater background. I was a professor for 25 years.
Yes.
In a program called Performing Arts and Social Justice, and got my way into coaching and working in large corporations by helping people tell their stories more effectively.
Careers never make sense in the windshield. They always make sense in the rearview mirror.
Yeah,
Like every little stop that you made along the way, it's like, oh yeah, of course.
totally.
Of course it makes sense.
Yeah, it's just weird how it all comes together.
Were you being on the Franciscan side, were you a Pope Francis guy?
I am, and I'm a Pope Leo guy. But
Yeah.
Pope Francis is the first Jesuit, which was really cool.
Didn't suck. It's
Yeah.
funny because I tripped across a book that John Paul wrote the other day, and I'm like, I don't know this to be true, but I guarantee, or I don't think that Francis stopped to write a book.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like he was too,
Yeah.
like I'm gonna be
He
out with
was-
the people. Like
That's right.
yeah,
That's right.
Which I like. I mean, I like
too.
John Paul as well. Being a cradle Catholic, I like all of them. However, they're all
Mhm.
different. It's nice to have an American. We'll see how that goes.
I'm really curious. I like him so far. I think he's been great. But this is
It's a
Yeah.
tough political time, but
is
it
a
is
very tough.
Catholicism is having a resurgence. My wife works at our church and she does adult ministry, so she's bringing in returning Catholics or new Catholics, and it's insane. Like
It is.
it's crazy.
I was at a Jesuit university for 25 years, and so
Okay,
what
which one were you at?
University of San Francisco,
Yeah, of course.
USF, the Dons, and
Yeah.
before that, I also taught at Santa Clara University, and so
Oh, one of my favorites.
good.
If
Good one.
anyone listening or watching has never been to Santa Clara University,
It's a
go.
beautiful campus.
Just go. Just
Yep.
go and be on campus and just walk the campus, and it is
Yep.
fascinating.
It is.
It's so beautiful. My son did a summer program out there for engineering.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
USF is also beautiful in a very different way.
Where is it's downtown?
No, it's in the middle of the city near the Haight-Ashbury, high on a hill, up on a hilltop that's gorgeous, with this beautiful church that sort of centers it. You can see from everywhere.
Right.
It's really, really cool. So a beautiful campus too.
I'll stop
Urban.
down. And,
but
yeah. But that doesn't bother me. I last time I was in San Francisco, just a couple of weeks ago,
Ah,
we made where the fort is on the other side on the bridge where Marin is.
Fort Mason.
Fort
Fort
the other
Mason.
side.
Yeah. Gotcha.
They've got a resort over there,
Oh,
and so
yeah.
Cavallo,
What's it called? Yeah. Cavallo Ranch.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't
It's
even get
beautiful.
into the city. I could see the bridge.
Yep.
So there's the bridge going into the city. I'm like, there's the city, but I
Yep.
didn't get in. It's the only time I've been in San Francisco and not gotten into the city.
Oh, that's fascinating. That's interesting.
It's
Yeah. It's
interesting.
beautiful out there, though. I love it.
The only thing is cost of living for me, because
Okay.
I grew up in Texas. I live in
Uh-huh.
Texas. And so that's the only thing. That's
Yep.
that's my only that's my only thing. I'd have to live in like Fresno or Bakersfield or something like to make the money I make go.
Go farther. Go.
Yeah. Sacramento. Go. Well, okay. What's the towns right on the border of Nevada? Yeah, probably over there. Because you can't go. I can't go up to Tahoe because that's all
It's
all
tough.
extremely wealthy now.
Affordability is insane in the Bay Area specifically. It's just
no.
it's nuts. And
No,
now with AI, it's getting even worse.
100%, 100%,
Yep,
because more people are making higher dollars, and so it's
that's right.
getting even more insane.
That's right.
So your current work that you're doing now, tell me
Hmm.
a little bit about what you're doing these days
Yeah.
with your coaching business and your kind of consulting business as well.
Yeah, so it's a small communications coaching firm. Basically, we've got a series of coaches who are trained in our model and what we do, and we work on high stakes events for major corporations. And so we coach a lot of executives. When you've got something important to say, it really makes sense to invest in first the content in the way that you say it, and second in the way that you deliver it. And so we really help people feel more confident, both in their storytelling and in their delivery. But we specialize, I do, in working with non-native speakers to give them the same level of confidence, because there's a whole range of studies and stories around how um, confidence actually works. And as native English speakers, we don't even know what we're looking at and judging when we tell somebody to be more confident. And so,
Yeah, there's all kinds of bias or unconscious bias that's underneath that.
huge
Um,
amount of unconscious bias.
and it could be, I'll go backwards. One of the things I think TED did really well, especially at the beginning, the original TED, not
Yep.
TEDx's, but the original TED Talks,
Yep.
is they manage quality. So
Hmm.
they manage the process of, okay, what are you guys? You're not
Hmm.
just going to jump up on stage in front of a bunch of people.
That's
So
right.
what are you going to say? How are you going to say it? How are you going
That's
to?
right.
What's the impact? I
Yep.
thought that probably better than any other thing like that. They did that really well. Just the management of quality and making sure that the Aussie audience, whether or not someone's talking about parking signs or,
Hmm.
genetic
Hmm.
mutations, doesn't matter. They're
Hmm.
going to get something out of it.
I agree. I agree. I think they did a really fantastic job of elevating what the role is of communication in that way, and really good, strong communication that has a point of view, that gets the message across easily, that people can understand. It's why it's got so many downloads, because it's
Right.
accessible, it's
Right.
interesting, it's topical, all of those things all at once.
So the
Yeah.
non-native speakers that you're working
Hmm.
with, I'm assuming that you're working with the rest of the team that, let's say, it's English speaking, and
Hmm.
you're trying to kind of deconstruct or get them to understand kind of what's going on and what type of biases they might have, et
Hmm.
cetera, et cetera.
Well,
So let's unpack some of that.
sure. Well, I think we all have bias around the way people speak. We all do.
Yeah.
And there are lots of studies that show that people who speak in a way different from the majority, different from the way everybody else speaks, don't get promoted as often, aren't as trustworthy, whatever that means, don't have the same access to promotion and advancement in the workplace. Um, and and so that has a significant impact, especially on global teams, right? Especially when you've got a US based company that is global, and how they actually communicate with teams in other parts of the world. So it's not just cultural intelligence. That's one aspect of it. This is actually how people communicate with one another and what that means. And
Are
so,
you dealing with some of the cultural norms as well?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. You
Okay.
you you need to, but
Yeah.
AI is also now trained on cultural intelligence models, which can be really helpful. What I think is important to recognize that is we've always put the burden onto the non-native speaker.
Right. Shifted
And
it to them. It's like, you don't know English. It's obviously your fault.
or you're not communicating as clearly as I do, you need to get better at it, right? It's
Without
true
saying
that
that. Without saying
without
that.
without saying it, but those are the
Right.
expectations. Those are
Yeah.
the expectations. And so what I like to say is that, I talk about Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, that Ginger Rogers did everything Fred Astaire did, only backwards and in high heels, right? That's the same thing that's happening with non-native speakers in a room, is they are interpreting, they are translating, they are figuring out their vocabulary as they're speaking. Sometimes they'll repeat themselves because they'll find themselves trying, the message didn't land the first way, maybe.
Right. Right.
And so they're unsure. So they're doing a hell of a lot more work in the moment, a lot more cognitive work that needs to be recognized. And I can tell you this, that that native speakers don't clearly understand what's going on. And so when I
I
do
know. Yeah.
workshops for teams, it's really great to see this sort of aha moment, both in the non-native speakers, in the recognition of what's going on, but also for native speakers to really recognize the way that they're using English isn't as helpful as it could be.
I think, for me, it's also the quickness of a conversation. The
Yes,
speed, the velocity, etc. You get some people together and they're just used to, going through things really, really quickly. And here I am again in Paraguay or Buenos Aires or whatever, and all of a
hmm
sudden I've got to stay with you, much
right.
less, you know,
Think of
keep
what to
up.
say. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Well, so there's a really interesting study, and I'm glad you brought up Latin American countries, because a lot of global companies that are based in the U.S. have Latin American teams. And Latin American teams often are speaking trilingually. They're speaking in Spanish, they're speaking in Portuguese, they're speaking in English. And what happens is, as soon as a monolingual person comes into the room, right? As soon as an English only person comes into the room,
Everything's got to come to them.
everything's got to come to them. And so
That's right.
all of the linguistic flexibility and prowess and skills that they have in being multilingual and asking more questions of each other and giving each other more time to think and speak and you doing it trilingually, all of it now reduces to English only, and it becomes more competitive for them. Turn taking becomes faster, just like you said. All of those elements now sort of evaporate when there's a monolingual person in the room. And
Which most
eh,
Americans are monolingual. So,
most Americans are monolingual. Most British are monolingual. Most
yep.
Australians are monolingual. Same thing.
Good point. Good point.
And there's
Um,
more non-native speakers in the world than there are native speakers.
Turns out.
Turns out.
Yeah, 8 billion people in the world. Turns out
That's right.
English isn't the primary language of all of those folks.
That's right.
Um, so teaching people that maybe never knew this was a thing,
hmm
and it is a thing. So you're
hmm
sitting around at a C-suite executive meeting, and you're like, okay, here's the thing that is it positioned as inclusion? Is it positioned as like, what's the best way to position in today's political market? Right.
The best way to position it is that this is a business issue, that you need your communication to be as clear as possible to everyone, not just
Right.
to a select few. And
Right.
so the better that you are using English to clarify what you're saying, to make sure the intention is there and that everyone throughout the globe understands it, that is a business decision. And
Well,
so
and
better,
English isn't just English. Like
that's
again,
right.
as you said, the British English, Australian English, Canadian
Yep.
English, United
Yep.
States, and then you got like 11 different United States, and so you have
Right.
colloquialisms, you've got
Yep.
slang, curse words, you've got all of this stuff in there that even we don't agree on,
Well,
right?
interesting, because all languages have that. Spanish has that as well. My friends from Colombia will say
Yeah,
they
yeah, yeah.
speak a really good pure
Oh
form
yeah,
of Spanish.
oh yeah.
It's just really interesting. And so
No,
we
go
all
to
have
Spain
these.
and find out how
Oh,
not pure it is. Yeah,
but we all have these biases around. No matter what language we speak, there's someone who's been sort of told that they don't have a standard way to speak. And that standard is developed usually by people in power and people who establish these norms for what it means. I had that in school, actually. I came from the Midwest and had a really sort of flat sound when I was
yeah,
speaking.
yeah.
And I was told in theater school and in grad school to not speak that way anymore.
Right, 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 right,
And
right.
so I was trained, 3 or 4 days a week for years.
I can see that in character
hmm
development. Like
hmm
they want you to play a certain character.
Yep.
Okay, you're an you're an
Sure.
Irish mobster. Okay, you've got to.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see that bit,
Yep. Yep.
but not just like, okay, don't be you, be this.
That's it. And so what we say is, it's not an accent, it's an identity, right? No one should actually be forced to change their accent or feel that their accent is somehow inferior, right? And so there was a really interesting study that was done in Canada at McGill University, and basically asked this. Maybe, let's say you're in a town that you don't know, your cell phone battery is dead, and your car isn't working. And so you ask two people, and you say, where is the closest garage? And one of them tells you to go this way, and the other one tells you to go that way. Who do you believe more? Do you believe the person who has an accent like you and speaks and sounds like you? Or do you believe the person who has a foreign accent more? And lots of studies like this, but basically what they
100%.
show is you
Yeah.
tend to believe and trust the person who sounds like you.
It's in hiring, they call it a like me bias.
That's right.
So
That's
there's 7 different biases in
yep.
hiring,
And
and that's a like me. So
absolutely.
I would trust whether or not I would ever say that. It's almost like silent or invisible
It is.
biases that happen.
That's right.
So I would trust that more for absolutely no reason other than my bias
That's right.
of someone who speaks like me.
That's right. But here's the interesting thing about the study, though. It showed that bias actually gets diminished and almost eliminated if the person who has the foreign accent or the outgroup accent speaks with confidence. And so then the question is, what the hell is confidence actually? Right? How do native speakers register what confident speech actually sounds like? And when I asked this, I did this week in a workshop for a huge corporation. I asked, what does it mean? And they said, strength. And I'm like, what do you mean strength? And they would give me these qualities that didn't have anything to do with what the study actually measured in terms of confidence.
Right. Because you can throw in tone and then decibel level. You can, look at body language and stuff like that. All this stuff.
All of that stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
And there's some really simple things to do as well. You're right. Tone is really important, and tone is very difficult for non-native speakers oftentimes. They may be saying the right words and have chosen the right words, but if their tone isn't right, sometimes it can come across in a different way that they might not have intended. So tone is one of the biggest challenges.
So they could be louder than they thought they were, or whatever, or softer. And either way, either of those spectrums, it leaves the other person going, yeah, I'm not sure I believe, or not sure I trust, etc.
Which is why having really good audio, especially on virtual calls, is incredibly important.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
I can't tell you how many crappy audio Zoom calls are still out there, right? And Teams calls, because people don't have a good quality microphone. And it changes everything subconsciously, right? Let the tech do the work in the background. If you sound good, people will assume more things about you because of the clarity of your audio.
Yeah, and again, I like the way you positioned it as a business. This is a business initiative, a business problem, a business objective. It's if you say you're a global company, great, fantastic, then prove it.
That's right.
And here's some of the things that we as Americans, we just have these biases. It's no big deal. Like, to act like we don't have them, okay, that's kind of a big deal. It's once someone makes you aware of, okay, this happens.
Yep.
It happens to all of us. It's okay. But here, let's go and rewire these things. How do we get executives? And again, executives, it's a tough group.
It's interesting because my relationship with executives is such that they take advice from me. They listen to me.
Right.
And I can, within an hour setting, make them feel so much better about what they're delivering. And so it's nice because I work with executives and then their teams. And once I work with their teams and they know that I'm working with the executive, oftentimes they take the work seriously, and because it does matter.
Yeah.
But let me give you some, if I can, give you some examples of things that most native speakers don't realize that they're doing. You've talked about, sports metaphor, right? We do it. U.S. people tend to do it constantly in the way that we add it. It drives non-native speakers, people who are not from the U.S., up the wall, because it's so
you just need to get a base hit. Just get a base hit.
Right. It's a real Hail Mary. I'm telling you, we're batting 1,000. I don't want a Monday morning quarterback.
Not enough Indians. Great.
Right. So So, but here's one thing that I like to do. Sometimes I'll talk about what are called phrasal verbs. And I guarantee you, somebody who's a non-native speaker in the room will say, "Oh, phrasal verbs. I learned them. They're the worst." And every single American or a U.S. speaker or native English speaker has no clue what a phrasal verb is. So let me explain, because I think it's really great. This is what it is. A phrasal verb is a verb that adds a preposition to it, usually, sometimes another adverb, and it changes the meaning of what that verb was initially. So there's a great comic in the 80s named Yakov Smirnov. He was actually Ukrainian. And he would say, English is such a strange language. Let's say you have a tree, and first you chop it down, and then you chop it up. Right? You chop it down, and then you chop it up into smaller pieces. And so it makes no sense. That's what a phrasal verb is. Let me give you an example. Take. The word take. I take, you take. Really easy. But if I say take off, take up, take over, take down, take apart, take apart,
Right.
meaning to participate in,
Yeah.
all of those have completely different meanings. Even worse, let's just take off. I can say she took off her sweater, so she removed it, right? The plane took off at noon. The doctor took me off antibiotics. Take off. I told him to take off, to
Yeah.
get out of here.
Take a hike. What?
Yeah, they took off 20% from the price. All of those mean completely different things. And so non-native speakers have to sit there and interpret in context all of the meanings for all of those. And there are 5,000 of them in our speech that we use every single day and are oblivious to, which is why AI can help. So let's say you're doing a talk to a global audience. We have a prompt that's a global English prompt that removes phrasal verbs and replaces them with stronger verbs. Instead of take off, soar. Instead of take 20%, reduce it by 20%. All of those things that just make it so much clearer, so much easier for people to interpret. So
And
that's
so people that would fight this, I think it'd probably be some of the scientists or technologists, some of the people from the hard sciences. They don't want, especially intellectuals, pseudo intellectuals, they don't want to dumb themselves down. But this isn't that. This is being clearer for the audience, because in communication, there's a sender, there's a receiver, and if the receiver is not getting your message, it doesn't matter.
it
If you're
doesn't matter. It doesn't
Right.
matter. That's right. Simplicity is one thing. Clarity is another. Clarity, I often say, is the structure behind what you say. Simplicity is the language that you use. And let me tell you this. So one of our coaches is also a professor. He's a physicist. He has his PhD in physics. And as he was coaching with us and working with all these major tech companies in Silicon Valley, he was realizing there wasn't really an effective tool for researchers, scientists, engineers to help them understand that the complexity of their language needs to be much simpler. And really interesting research around this too, that shows that the less complicated your language is, the more citations you get for your research.
Right.
The
Because
more
people
people
understood
take
what
up
you
your
were saying.
ideas. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I see this in med tech companies and in pharmaceutical companies,
All the
where
hard
you've got
sciences.
people, and it's like, what are you actually saying? It's my favorite thing to say for people who are presenting to me or I'm doing a high stakes presentation is, I'm sorry, what are you trying to say here? And then they say, oh, well, basically what I'm saying is this. And I say that.
Yeah.
Say that.
Well,
It's so much easier.
I've done that test too with when someone does kind of where they're working on messaging. I'll go, do you have a grandmother or grandfather? Have they ever worked in this industry? Great. Go tell them. Go run it past them real
That's
quick.
right.
And then
That's right.
ask them, did you understand what I was saying?
That's right.
And if they don't, you're
Mhm.
talking above their head. And it's not
Mhm.
them. You're talking about
Mhm.
above other people's heads.
That's right.
Right. So
And
I think it's
but
a big jump for a lot of the hard sciences, because I work with a lot
it
of
is.
IO psychiatrists,
Mhm.
and they have their own language,
They
and
do.
they're used to talking to one another.
That's right.
And the problem is like, okay, but there's a consumer part of your product that has
Mhm.
nothing to, they have no knowledge of what you speak of. So,
I would say even that although there's this shorthand that happens all the time, that those people who can actually speak more humanly
right,
about what they're doing, even to colleagues of the same reputation and status and things like that, actually are appreciated much more for that work
right.
because they've made it easier for people, even just in daily conversation. But yeah, you're absolutely right. We,
Well, I've
why
told
is
people,
it?
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I've told
Just
people in the past, if you want to be understood, so Oscar Wilde will give some famous references. Oscar Wilde wrote for about 6 people. That's it.
That's good.
That was his bit. If the 6 people got it, that was his job. Hemingway wrote for everyone.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so if you look at his text, it's very simple, it's very
Yep.
straightforward, it's very
That's right.
descriptive.
Hmm.
Everyone, you could be a mechanic, you could be a PhD, you could be this,
You
that,
can
and the other.
understand. That's
You can
true.
understand Hemingway.
Hmm.
Oscar Wilde, because of
Oscar
all the
Wilde.
reference, because of
Yep.
all the inside, baseball
Jokes. That's right.
jokes and stuff like that.
Hmm.
No, you had to actually have it explained to you
Hmm. That's
because
right.
you weren't one of the 6 people he was writing for.
That's right.
So don't be
And the
Oscar Wilde
register at
in
which he
this
wrote, and the
particular. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh my God. In the
yep,
register. Oh, that's an altogether different thing. But
yep.
like when talking to people about communicating to others, don't be Oscar Wilde. Choose to
Hmm.
be
That's right.
Hemingway.
Choose to be Hemingway. I
And
like that.
maybe not Michener, but
Right.
'cause not in this day and age, but you'll go on and
Yep.
get some glossy eyes. But
Right.
choose to be Hemingway. Still get your point
Hmm.
across.
Hmm.
But get it across at so that any level and any person can read it and
Hmm.
understand it.
That's right. That's the ultimate goal. And I think it's really interesting when we sit there in a room of both native and non-native speakers and say, well, what does that look like? Why do we rely on jargon so much?
Yeah,
Why do we
yeah.
think it's
It's a
applicable? And so I
it's a
was,
crutch,
yeah, it is.
just a crutch.
It is a crutch, and you hide behind that
That's right.
language, which really means nothing. And so I did a workshop yesterday where I took the whole leadership team and gave them a dense paragraph and
Yeah.
said, I want you to actually, based on what their role was. And I said, I want you to
Translate this.
actually, and I said, yeah. And I would put it up on the screen. I would say, does this language look familiar? And they're like, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We do this all the time. And I said,
And
why?
well, some of it's to prove it's bona fides, right? So it's to prove that
Right.
they've been in the industry so a long
Yep.
time. So
They're
there's
part of the
some
club.
the part
Mm-hmm.
of club. There's some anthropology and archaeology going on. They've got history, etc.
That's right.
And none of it means anything
Nope.
because what you've done is brought it back to the central part of: do you want to be understood?
That's right. That's right.
It's a yes no question. It is
Yep.
binary. Do you want to be
Yep.
understood? Yes. Okay,
Yep.
great. Let's work on that,
Yep.
and let's kind of deconstruct all of this stuff that you've
That's
accumulated
right.
in the
That's
way
right.
that you speak, the way that you put
Yep.
sentences together, etc.
Yep.
Because you now want to be understood. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
before you're into all the jargon because you wanted to be respected.
That's right.
That's a bit different.
But the jargon actually doesn't make you respected. That's the thing. You know what I mean?
I deduct IQ points for people that use jargon.
There's a level at which it's ridiculous, and people recognize that you're saying a lot without saying anything. And so,
At the end of the day, though, what I love is you can walk into any room and talk to any executive and just very simply, do you want to be understood?
mm-hmm,
If you want to be understood, fantastic. Let's work on that.
Yep. I do. One of the things that I do that really helps everybody actually is to teach them how to read from a script, but not make it look or sound like they're reading from a script.
That's harder. That's harder than it looks. I can tell you from experience. Yeah.
But
I love seeing actors on TV or in movies kind of go through the bit. I'm like, God, they make that shit look so easy.
Yeah.
And every time I get it, I mean, this is just on a very small scale, but we'll get ads that are ad reads. And it takes me 15, 20 takes because
Really?
I don't speak that way. I
Right.
don't speak that way. The way that they've written it, I don't speak like that.
So here's what can help, and this is where AI, we're not using AI to its full potential, and we really can. So one of the things we do is you create a voice print for yourself, a DNA voice print, which is you've got how many hours of the way that you actually sound, right? Hundreds and hundreds of hours of that. You upload those transcripts, because I'm sure you've got transcripts for everything as well, and you have AI analyze the way that you speak, what you speak about, your syntax and structure, favorite phrases that you use, all of those things, your timing, how fast you speak, all of that. And then you can ask it to generate a script that actually sounds like you.
Here's what they sent me. Here's
Yeah.
here's how I would approach that.
That's exactly right. And then you deliver that, and all of a sudden that conversational quality that feels like you. This is the issue with executives. Oftentimes they get things that they have to say that they stumble over because it's not the way they would say it. And so that's part of my job, is to helping them reframe it and rephrase it in a way that feels more comfortable for them, so they can feel more confident.
Well, this is off topic, but I could see
Yeah.
this actually helping in marriage counseling. Because it's
Well,
it's the telephone game, right?
it's the telephone. That's so funny. Well,
So
you recognize this, that when you come home from a long day at work or whatever, and you're exhausted, or your partner says something and you try to solve it for them in the moment, it's like,
Yeah,
I don't want you to solve it. I just want
yeah.
you to empathize with me. I just want you to listen.
I just wanted to communicate.
Yeah.
This is what I was doing. I was communicating, and
Yep.
you're in problem solving mode because you just went through an hour commute, and you want
That's
to kind
right.
of get to the thing so you can move on to the next thing. And again, communication, it's one of those things. It's one of the pillars of a good relationship,
It is.
a working relationship, or private or personal relationship. You got to be able to communicate.
You do. What's funny is that my partner and I have a shorthand now where he'll say, "Do you want to be helped, hugged, or heard?"
Oh, that's
And I'll say,
genius.
And I'll say, "I just want to be
Combo.
heard." And then
I want a combo. Got a combo.
Yeah,
Let's do one first.
that's right. I would love a combo, but it's so funny because when I say I just want to be heard, and then I'll complain about something, and he'll say, "Oh, that
Fantastic.
sounds really difficult."
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, damn it.
But you know what? I mean, first of all, for you to know that, so it's both sides, right?
Yeah,
For the person to actually ask, "Hey, listen, I can handle this a number of different ways. What's the best way for you?" Then for you to be able to articulate that,
that's right.
it takes both of you recognizing, okay, we both have a responsibility to know what
Exactly.
we need. Did you need
That's
a hug?
right.
But you said,
That's
I want to
right.
be heard.
Yep.
Well, there's a responsibility there, and I think that translates into, for the executives, you want to be understood.
Here's
ahead.
the other thing is that, let's say a new exec comes in, and there's a team that's never worked with this exec before. Like,
Right.
how do you know how they like to be communicated with? And I'm not talking about personality profiles. I'm not talking about all those
Right.
things. I'm talking about the nuts and bolts of how they like to be communicated with. And so one of the things we do is I'll do a half an hour questionnaire with them. It's 20
Right.
questions.
Right.
And it's like, how far in advance do you want to pre-read? Do you want to pre-read? What should be in the pre-read? Do you like more context, or do you like the recommendation up front? Tactical, specific. And I'm telling you, and then I generate this profile for the team, and everyone's like, oh my God, I wish I had this when we first started working with you,
Right.
because now we know. And so it's an incredible tool that we developed that people love, because
Again, there's a self-awareness there. That's
true.
That executive has to know what they want. Like, I worked with a guy 100 years ago.
Mhm.
You couldn't put a meeting on his calendar unless there was an agenda and a desired outcome from the agenda,
Mhm.
right? And so I learned from that. Like, that's how he likes his meetings. 30-minute
That's
meeting.
right.
Let's just go through a 3-point agenda. But what do
Yep.
you want from this
That's right.
meeting?
That's right.
And again, it's that self-awareness.
Yep.
Being
Yep.
self-aware of what you want.
And it's funny because sometimes when I go through the questions, you can tell they're like, oh, that would be good if I chose that answer. It's like, no. I want you to choose the one that actually describes
Yeah.
you, not the
Yeah,
one you
this
want
is-
to be,
Yeah.
but the
You're
one
not,
that describes
you're not
you.
picking out a personality array of other people.
That's right.
It's who you are and
Yep.
how you like the communications.
That's
I
right.
grew up in Texas, but I spent some time in the South, went to the University of Alabama for undergrad. And I remember my first couple of jobs, and I was calling the Northeast, New York and Boston in particular, and a broad generalization of both those areas, but they are quick.
Mm.
Like, get to the point very quickly.
Mhm.
And being in the South, I'm used to being, especially at that time, slower. Like, hey, how's your family? How are you doing? This, that, how's work?
Relationship based,
Right.
to begin.
So they're like, yeah, I'm doing well.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Task based. Exactly. Task based. It's very different. Yep.
And then when I traveled all over Central and South America at a point in my life, and business is done differently there, in the sense of it was more like the South for me, at least my experiences, where you went
Relational.
out to dinner, it was all
Yep.
relationship, and then at one point, maybe the next day,
That's right.
you talked about business. But
That's
it was
right.
after you talked about all this other stuff. You talked
That's
about
right.
football. You talk about your
They
family
want to know
and all
who
that
you
type of stuff.
are. They want to
Where
know who
you're
you are.
from. Yeah. And then the next day or the day after, then you get into business. But I could see other Americans kind of like, okay, we're
Let's get
here.
it done.
Let's do the deal. It's like,
Yeah.
that's not going to work.
These are classic cultural intelligence issues that you face when you're moving into, and your communication has to be the same. It's got to be, some cultures really want to argue with you.
100%.
They want to be incredibly direct. And
That's how they're
arguing
learning.
actually
They're
shows
processing.
exactly shows a respect because they're grappling with your issues and you're grappling with theirs, and it's a really healthy thing. And in other cultures, you would never do that.
Right. Yeah.
And so
the first time I went to Tokyo, I had a consultant here in Fort Worth who knew Japanese culture really well. So I sat down with her for a week, and she goes, "Okay, here's some do's and don'ts."
Yeah.
So you're not going to learn it all, and you're going to make mistakes, and it's okay.
Yep.
But here's some things to avoid. Here's some things to not avoid, etc. Basic stuff. And I think that like just having that playbook of when you're in Dubai, here are the rules.
Yep.
When you're in a certain place, but you're talking about an American business that has English as its language, and how do you bring in all this other talent and really, really effectively motivate help them be. You want them to perform. You want their performance to be better.
That's right.
How do you then become more understood?
Well, it's also let me just also make the business claim one more time, because what's happening now is that all of investor relations people and investors in businesses, they listen to the quarterly earnings reports and all of the things that an executive is saying, the CFOs, the CEOs, everybody, and they put them through AI. And they analyze the language choice that they use now versus what they've used in the past.
Right.
And then they listen to the tone of voice to see how confident they are. And so this becomes actually a really important dynamic in how those businesses are presenting themselves. Now, they can't always do it with non-native English speech as well, which is another advantage that non-native English speakers, if they're an executive, might have in terms of AI. But I don't know when AI is going to crack that code. It'll be really interesting to see.
Well, we could talk forever. I absolutely love what you're doing and how you're helping people. How can people find you?
So on LinkedIn, Peter Novak, and Strictly Speaking Group is the name of my company.
Strictly Speaking. All right.
Yep, Strictly Speaking Group. And so our website is there, and connect with me on LinkedIn. It's a great way to get to know folks and to put more information out there and really help connect and try to make a difference for folks' lives.
Well, you are making a difference, because again,
thank you.
It gets back to that. Do you want to be misunderstood, or do you want to be understood?
That's
if you want to be understood, we can get you there. It's going to take some change. It's going to take some awareness and some other types of things, but we can get you there.
It works.
You just got to want it.
That's right.
You got to want it. If you don't want it, let's not start. Peter, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. Know you're
Really
busy.
appreciate your time. Thank you so much, William. It's great to meet you and see you and to learn more about you too.